Testing, testing. This is me seeing or trying to prove to myself, I guess, that my university education is very much second place to mud flood was Armageddon. Yes, the mud flood was Armageddon. It's a flat earth nation. The golden age is past. Don't let them tell you anything else, anything, unless they're willing to debate you, talk to you about it in a fair and honest way that would please God. But you have to stand up for what you believe. Now let's look at some of these things. I'm pretty sure I'm going to show a video, so I'm going to look at this fair statement agreement. I am going to substantially change anything they claim they got going with their deal. So I got some pictures here, maybe. Did I show these earlier? Looks like these are the ones from earlier. We're going straight up Operation Ice Pick. They must be thinking that that's what I meant was Operation Immigration Enforcement. Operation Metro Surge. It's going on right now. They've arrested some of the worst offenders in the whole world. What else we got? No, I meant Operation Ice Pick Wiki. Still, 2 new towers, a battle pass. This is a game. 19th event to be added to towered events. Ice Pick, Wikipedia. Standard Ice Pick is appointed. Okay, metal. Back to the immigration enforcement. Now I knew there was an Operation Ice Pick devised by these guys, members of the Boston Society for Medical Improvement. Your eyes aren't deceiving you. That's an old. Who is that guy? He's one of those dandies that is so famous because he was gay. And this guy in the middle here, he's what started the whole psychiatry movement. More to come on. Now, if I can remember his name, Gage, Gage. Oh, we're going to look at the insane lobotomy craze of the 1950s. Did you have epilepsy? Were you a little bit melancholy? Did you have a mind of your own willfulness? Well, that was considered grounds in the 1950s for a lobotomy. Rosemary, she was getting a lobotomy. She began to become incoherent. Rosemary did. In the meantime, until she was incoherent, Dr. Freeman, as Dr. Watts was cutting into her brain with something that looked like a butter knife, swinging it around the instrument inside. Can you recite the Lord's Prayer? Can you sing God Bless America? Count backwards. When she stopped responding, they stopped lobotomizing her. It was something that she did not have mental retardation, but rather a form of depression. In 1941, they didn't have depression. So her father, well, her brother, future President Kennedy, would have been embarrassed by her action because it seemed like, well, she was a willful, melancholic whore that wouldn't stop having sex with any boy that walked in the room, is what some people would lead you to believe. Joe Kennedy referred to his daughter as mentally retarded, but, in order to keep John Kennedy's reputation, which is in 1941, they were already planning him to run for president. That's when Rosemary Kennedy got a lobotomy. And apparently, Eva Perón, given a prefrontal lobotomy. They said to relieve pain agitation and anxiety, and she had a rapid cancer hysterectomy, not hysterical economy. She was so popular, only Guadalupe, the Virgin of the Guadalupe. Sometimes when I go like that, it's like, oh, black screen, son of a gun. Oh, so that was a good 5 minutes too. But honestly, I don't mind doing it again. See what happens when RJ's not around? Check this out, you guys. And I do apologize, but this has to be this is important. I have to hide that. That means I have to go back, show the disclaimerage, and so there I can see I'm sharing the pictures. Operation Ice Pick, little misspelling. They should know I want Operation Ice Pick, and not that it's something that's going on today in Minnesota. You can clear it up. Look, I want Operation Ice Pick. It's still not there. It's still not there. It's them, yippity yap, yap, yap. And here's the gay guy that I was talking about. This is the guy, Ezekiel Gage, I believe is his name. His can't even see the scar, but you'll see a picture of him. I thought I had one, but I know one is pulled up. Here's the guy explaining the lobotomy craze. I told you about Rosemary and how when she became during her lobotomy, look at that. When she didn't know God Bless America or the Lord's Prayer, they stopped cutting into her head no more than an inch. Something looked like a butter knife, and he swung it up and cut the brain tissue. We put that butter knife inside. Started asking her some questions. Can you recite the Lord's Prayer? Here's the thing about, Joe Kennedy referred to his daughter as mentally retarded. Was afraid that, he did it to protect John's reputation for a presidential run. The deal with Rosemary Kennedy was her lobotomy was, I think, in 1941. This is the proof that they hid until 2011 that Eva Perón, and she's on the list of famous people that had lobotomies, had a lobotomy. And that's where it ended. And I went back and found out, no, you had not been sharing. So now hopefully you got to see that. Yay. I am so sorry about that. And it's been a while, Angel. It's nice to see you. So here's the world we live in before I get into the lobotomies and proof of how they're fake and everything. Not a bit of this is real. This is all fake. This is all what the Lord showed me on September 12th. It's a fake. The 30-06, it's never stopped by a spine. It's not a miracle. They're charismatic Catholics, really deep in scandal, and now they're busted in this girl who has, dyed her hair blonde, probably the vast majority of her life. She wants you to believe this.
No rock will be unturned. I want justice for my husband, for myself, for my family, more than anyone else out there. So for me, you want to keep telling me to come down while we're building? I don't have time for that. But here's my breaking point on that. Come after me, call me names, I don't care. Call me what you want, go down that rabbit hole, whatever. But when you go after my family, my Turning Point USA family, my Charlie Kirk Show family, when you go after the people that I love, and you're making hundreds and thousands of dollars.
Wait, it does seem, though, that not only this drama is so predictable. Everybody's going after you because it smells to high heaven. You guys are cozying up with the Zionists, the charismatics, the gay Lincoln Republicans. You sell it somewhere else, lady.
Plates. I immediately recognize them as Eastern Emerald Elysia, which is this really rare and remarkable photosynthetic sea slug. It's got this really weird ability to use the sun to make food just like a plant would. This is the only real case in the animal kingdom where you actually have animals doing photosynthesis. And in order to photosynthesize, it needs to maximize the amount of sunlight that it's catching on its body. The sea slug has evolved to look like
Hey, I'm not saying you're a sea slug. I'm saying that someday we'll be able to live off of light. We don't, and we'll know each other by the content of what it was in their heart when they survived the cleansing fire, our gold, silver, precious stones that God is allowing us to build up after we're saved by grace, by doing and using the talents that he gave us according to the soil we've been planted in. He counts that as talents given to you and do re mi, so that if he gave you 5, what's the parable? He wants you to get at least 5 more. That doesn't sound unfair to me. Now, it's wonderful when I have time because, and why I'm giving up on the university. And if I stay, I don't. If I go, it's not like, as long as there isn't fake money, I haven't qualified for my Social Security and I'll be okay. I'm worried about you guys because I've always been a pack rat, thrifty guy. It's other people that learn a different way. So this is me proving I really don't care what happens. What you need to know is they're trying to kill you. Where I go, the message goes. And somebody came by today and I was explaining to him about how there is a throne of Satan. It's in California. It's in LA. It's Beverly Hills. It was the people who called themselves Jews starting the movies to brainwash us all. And he was going down the road, like, what about the great falling away? I'm glad you asked. I said, the Lord showed right off the bat. Somebody asked me that, and I go, well, what about 2 Timothy chapter 1? All the books in Revelation, those churches were in Asia. And Paul says at one point, that everyone in Asia has departed me conveniently. 1 Timothy, verse 15, kind of says, that he's bad, a worse sinner, but things are going not that bad. It's kind of keep this command in keeping with the previous prophecies about you. Fight the good fight. Hold on to the faith with a good conscience, which some have rejected, and thereby shipwrecked their faith. Now, isn't that quite a difference? Now, at one point, it was enough to say, don't listen to those 2 people. Well, they did. And then by the time we go through, here's the end of the chapter. Hey, it's hard. Get onto the doctrine, find out what they're disagreeing about, use sound words from scripture, godly teaching, fight the good fight. Boom. Next letter. Okay, you guys. Everybody just went bad. They're doing the whole what? 2 Tartarias. One stayed good, one went bad, one went with the Trinity, one said no. Let's bring it up to date. The lobotomy thing starts with Walter Jackson Freeman. Number 2 rhymes with poo, was an American physician who claimed he wasn't really, it says he was a physician, but he didn't have a degree. He specialized in lobotomies. wanted to simplify them, make it like abortions. You could just do it right. You don't need a hospital. You could just do it right in the office, man. Transorbital lobotomy. There's a picture of somebody really getting ruined for the rest of their life. You can't tell what you know anymore because you don't know what you knew. He had a partner because there was more money. You know, it was easier to do it in the hospital where you could charge more. But this guy had a goal. He had an Operation Ice Pick. There really was an Operation Ice Pick, according to that other guy with the 2 million subscribers. He said there was. And he popularized lobotomy. Later traveled the United States, visiting the many asylums that we know were very busy. They say he was doing 1,000 a year. That seems like a lot on patients as young as 4 is what they admit to, despite the fact he had no formal surgical training. I wonder if he was even a doctor. Did go to University of Pennsylvania Medical School. His procedures eventually spread across the world. So you can imagine a bunch of motivated and, you know, when they're getting paid to do something easy, like put a nail in somebody's brain through the thinnest part of the skull, right, stirred around. Where's my money? I'm a doctor. I first do no harm to my wallet book. That's the way they think. To their wallet book, that's the way they think, he says in a much more relaxed, understandable way. Intended to treat mental illness, took small corings of the patient's frontal lobes. Moniz became a mentor and idol for Freeman, who modified the procedure and named it lobotomy. Instead of taking corings, drillings from the frontal lobes, Freeman's procedure severed the connection between not the thalamus. That's the important thing there. That hypothalamus is right next to it. You gotta, I mean, if you want to blink when dust is coming at you, how are you gonna do it without that limbic endocrine system up and running? But anyway, they went through it, traveling throughout the world, worldwide. Here you go. They all did it. They all knew they did it. He got the Nobel Prize and said, we got to do more of these. Of course, I hope it's not too much to ask that you would extrapolate and know that I'm trying to say this is how they erased the people. When we see the encyclopedias from 1958 saying, yeah, there's a big dome up there nobody can figure out, or it looks like the earth's flat. And then all of a sudden nobody believes it. And we find out, oh, where's the orphans coming from? Where's all this time? Well, they didn't get lobotomized, did they? Your parents didn't get lobotomized, and you don't have that many nice things to say about them last time you were talking to me. I won't get into names and details, but the number of parents that are raping their children and the bullshit is out of control, and it's been out of control. And they did all these lobotomies to the people who are going like, no way, why are you doing this? What do you mean you won't swear an oath to the new Constitution in the 1950s? Well, they started taking care of those people in the 1940s, didn't they? This is real. This Satan is loosed. This is a judgment. It's only getting worse. He did it. This guy and his friends. Lobotomies Incorporated. What is the white matter that they're scrambling? Well, it's magnetic resonance. It's imaging. Don't mess with it or you'll get the cognitive impairment. White matter, hyperintense are often found in patients with vascular dementia. Well, hold on one second. White matter refers to areas in the central nervous system, CNS, that are mainly made up of myelinated axons, also called tracts. Long thought, long thought to be passive tissue, white matter affects learning and brain functions, modulating the distribution of action potentials. Are you in your body that you are, according to God's will, supposed to be treating like a temple? Do you even give do you care? You want action potentials if you're one of those people. It's like a relay, and that it's all electrical, man. There even go like, what's a relay? It's this electrical stuff. If you want to communicate in your different brain regions, well, look how busy this thing can be. There's some. Look at that. So this is the back of your brain where your eyeballs are up here and they're flashing it. See here? This is, you get the vision here, pick it up back here. These are the cords that cross over. That's the gap between the halves of your brain, corpus callosum much. When you flip it, you know, another way, it's like that Eye of Horus thing. No, they don't show that. They're just showing it's a, is it a modern defect? I wonder what's going to happen. It doesn't, it seems like the people that I'm going to be trying to help heal from the jab, it's the younger people. Hey, look at Winky. Why are you winking at me? Oh, this guy, disfigured yet still handsome, he became kind of a star, although he was kind of a rascal. After this that he is holding went through his head. Photograph of case Diggerite, studio portrait of brain injury survivor Phineas P. Gage, shown holding the tamping iron that went through his brain yet didn't kill him. Allegedly, the most documented thing in the world, they've been talking about it since it happened. I need a nightcap bandage. It must have been invented. There's a newspaper article by confusing the diameter with its circumference, overstating the iron's length and damage to his jaw a little bit, but that's him. The plaster cast taken in 1849, they saved him, but they said, noticing him going from a passive, average man, he became more dominant, more sure of himself. It might have been because, well, there he is. He started reading different books, hanging out with different people, became a spokesman for the Boston Medical Society, who were very interested, thinking, well, maybe if we monkey with the brain, I don't know, what, fill in the blanks. So what are we doing? You know what? I was confusing the gay thing with Oliver Wendell Holmes. I don't think he's gay. He's seated on the left. Okay. Him? Was he's a judge or something, right? Polymath, autocrat of breakfast table, Cambridge, Massachusetts, Old Ironsides. Yeah, Harvard Medical School. Okay. Hanging out with the Emerson, the poet Longfellow. Okay, he's a very famous guy. He's got street cred. Phineas Gage has got street cred. And he's like, you can study me all you want. And they did. They wanted to study his brain. So they took him in there as a living museum. Huh. What is this one? The two wonders of the world have arrived and have taken rooms at the Union House where they intend to exhibit themselves for a few days only. General Washburn, the living dwarf skeleton, the only one ever exhibited, is 28 years of age, weighing only 48 pounds. Well, and then there's Phineas Gage, who had the crowbar blown through his head. Wow. Starfort map, I'm sure he was doing here. He's putting in the line there. Something went wrong when he was ready for the fuse to be lit. He was tamping it. Boom. Pow. No fun. Oh my goodness. That had to be such a shock. Let's just see if we can't get any more of a inside information on the whole situation. The Boston Medical, Phineas Gage. We're already
on a fateful day in
fully
1848, Phineas Gage, a 25-year-old American construction worker, was supervising a controlled explosion on a railroad track when an iron rod shot up, going right through his skull. Although he was unconscious for a minute or so, he woke up and was soon sitting upright and talking. How did he survive this traumatic brain injury? How did it change his life and his personality? And what
How did he get studied by science?
optical remapping? Gage is often referred to as the man who started neuroscience because his case was the
Wait, he started what? Neuro knowledge? Point us to this knowledge. I want to hear what she said. He started neuroscience. Well, somebody had to, for them to be able to lobotomize everybody, cover up everything, have you swear to a new constitution or you don't get paid, change the flat earth teachings, make you want to go to Mars all of a sudden. The Back to the Future, everybody.
because his case was the first to point us towards this knowledge. We once thought that after childhood, the brain remains fixed for the rest of our lives. But now we know that our brains are in fact amazingly
Hey,
flexible,
look at
and the
me.
activity in the brain never stops.
Hey, that's
Brain
not me. That's a
injury is
girl.
currently the leading cause of disability worldwide. But
Hey, I could do
neuroplasticity
that. I'm
offers
not
some
sure she
hope for
can.
recovery. The fact that our neural connections
Look at her
remain
go,
flexible
making her
can
brain
also
turn on.
contribute
She's
to
not
our
a cat
understanding
lady.
of how we treat mental health problems such as anxiety.
You get the point. More?
Music therapy. Music engages various regions of the brain.
The BBC, right? We're talking about Phineas Gage, and they're talking about whatever. This might as well be screaming out, "Girl, you can be a boy." I'm sorry, I'm cynical.
Illness or injury has the potential to alter the brain, sometimes for a while.
They always believe you need behavioral health. Wonder what comes up in my algorithm. Anybody? Israel's the last indoctrination. My backup channel. Nobody watches it. You damn cops are the liars. Oh no. What are we going to do? Well, some of you will drown, some of you will burn, some of you will be eaten by your neighbors. They have a plan, and it started with pentyletrazole, also known as pentyletrazole, can cause convulsions. But in 1934, they thought, let's go for it. Oh, what the heck? In 1939, it was replaced by a new thing called electroconvulsive therapy. Maybe that would made them more money. I don't know, but they used it with cough syrup. So it was like, hey, we want you to pass out. And I'm guessing like with these who knows? These guys are crazy. I'm thinking they're molesting everybody. If you would know how many people's parents cover this shit up, they're in on it. Anxiety. It was a drug that killed people. But the 1934 date, let's see if we can beat that anywhere. because they were developing a math where they could fake atomic weapons at the same time. But really, there was something called the general paresis of the insane. It's a severe neuropsychiatric disorder. Couldn't have done it. Never would have come up without Phineas Gage and the Boston group, who rubbed his head using their methods of, they rubbed the head. Was it phenological or head rubbing? Disease affected 7% of the people, some with 7% with syphilis. Identified in the early 1800s, the condition's connection with syphilis discovered in the late 1880s. Organic arsenical were used until 1910. Pyrotherapy started in the 1920s. Doesn't that sound very something like fire? No, stop thinking that. You're driving in my car. No, stop it. Takes a long time. Short-term memory gone. What is this? These delusions include ideas of great wealth, immortality, thousands of lovers, unfathomable power, yikes, and then death. That wasn't working. So they needed malaria therapy. They would give the people malaria and archaic medical procedure of treating diseases using giving them something that makes them sick, malaria parasites. Let's study that. It's a type of pyrotherapy by which high fever is induced to stop or eliminate symptoms of certain diseases. In malaria therapy, pyrotherapy, malaria parasites, that looks yummy, are specifically used to cause a fever. 1917. Okay, so we can't beat 1910, but we do match his Nobel Prize for human torture. So, and these guys that do the Hippocratic Oath, they're cool with it. They're good. But again, target the thyroid, the thalamus, your hypothalamus, your endocrine system. If I sound like a broken record, yay, it's working. Deep sleep therapy. What do we got here? Aha! Nope, not even close. 60s and 70s. But anyway, patient torture, they had to stop it. 25 dead people. How about after one person? How about when it's introduced as the torture it is? You say, stop it. But Paco, it comes from 1950 and it's almost as early as giving them drugs that they don't know what happens when you do it. Except they're dumber and they're kind of looking for that because Phineas Gage would be proud. Long course of ECT, electroconvulsive project MK. Those guys, the Roche company, these guys, they made the Quaaludes. Do they even know what schizophrenia is? You got really people. Hi, I think I'm 14 personalities all by myself. Sure. You know. So deep sleep therapy. Have you ever heard of insulin shock therapy? Introduced in 1927. They're all trying to fix it, but this is a disgraced. They don't do this anymore. Fell out of favor. Yeah, these new drugs, neuroleptic, they're better. They're better. But in the meantime, keep going. Large doses of insulin in order to produce daily comas for a couple weeks at a time. Yeah. Deep sleep therapy. All of these things were working around until they perfected, they had to keep it working. Now, William Bryant, special agent of the Little Rock Drug Enforcement, announced 23 individuals have been charged with drug trafficking offenses as part of Operation Ice Pick. Well, that guy in that other video said that Operation Ice Pick was a real thing Now they keep naming other things about it. They had the one from today, they had the one from 2012, and they're calling it ice pick. I think everything's you can't blame. I think everything's a conspiracy. Yep. Here's something about the Dust Bowl. It wasn't the farmers that stayed became kind of, okay. The people that left went to the city, made money because they were doing a reset. They didn't need people on the farm. I believe the amazing Dust Bowl was an amazing first use of the, I don't know if they used chemtrails, but I know they could use wetter, weather modifications to make it wetter, whether you want them to or not.
Migration that, for many, was a calculated risk that actually paid off. And let's be super clear, none of this is to say the Dust Bowl wasn't a tragedy. It absolutely was. The suffering was immense. But what the data does is shift the narrative. It replaces the story of helpless victims with a more nuanced story of rational economic actors, of people making tough choices in impossible circumstances, and of incredible resilience in the face of disaster. And this really leaves us with a final, bigger question. The Grapes of Wrath is a powerful, essential piece of literature.
You know what it tells me about our past? The people that the Illuminati, Bavarians, who were hit the ground running with the Illuminati after Satan was loosed, after they killed and killed and killed enough people, some of them joined branches of the Freemason that said, if you and your relatives keep helping us, you will live, and you will live pretty good. Not as good as us, but pretty good. And they said, yes, sir, can I have another? So when was she born? 1918. Became troubled. You know, got a lobotomy on 1941. I told you, I showed you in that picture. Her father even talks about that. Well, even by that time, we were already planning on running John for Kennedy for president, so we figured she's an embarrassment. And she was promiscuous, and they blamed it, oh, something was wrong with her. And she didn't appear different. She just was she was horny. She was like the other kid. She was like female version of Ted Kennedy, or some of the one that got put in jail for beating his cousin to death with a golf club or something like that. But anyway, helped calm her moods. They stuck with it. You know, be hard to do to for him to run for president. Kessler, Joe Kennedy referred to his daughter as mentally retarded rather than mentally ill in order to protect John's reputation, because the lobotomy and everything was kept from the public. She was hidden. This happened to her, and she spent the most of the rest of her life in Jefferson, Wisconsin. The truth of her situation, of what the child abuse, psychological, mental murder that happened. This was kept secret for decades from who? From everybody. And eventually they said, oh, somebody found her. I think snuck a DNA test or something and said, hey, look, this is your daughter. And they go like, oh, she was mentally ill, not retarded. How many other people got lobotomies? You know, Eva Perón. I was surprised because Eva Perón, it's hard for us to imagine how uh, he or she, as a young man impersonating a woman. That's my opinion. That's just what I'm thinking. Born in poverty, worked her way up. They say at age 15 she became famous. It was more, I guess, like Menudo. How old are those young boys? They love that. And she married Perot in 45. He got elected. She became so popular, it said that she was only the other Eva Peron. Eva Maria was how she was born. They claim that, 1919, they're thinking no, no, that she created it. But by the time she died, it was honestly unbelievable. She's like as popular as Michelle Obama. And they could make her or the president of France. Some people love the president of France's wife. At the young age of 15. I'm sure it was a very platonic relationship, ended quickly, found somebody that made more money. But she changed when she met them during the Great Depression. She ended up meeting the great people of the world. She was able to be used. She rose so fast, thoroughly dependable, achieved the financial stability, the relationship with Juan Perón. And I want you to remember there was a bad Jesuit pope that was elected from Argentina that covered up so much that they did during that time. And they went on to, I believe he died. She started her own religion, mystic overtones, playing on the history of Argentina. She ran it, is still celebrated as a holiday. The day she did the loyalty day, did the whole world tour. More of a friend of Italy than Spain and Nazi Germany, but they still had a lot of Nazi Germany's come over and find, for money. And it was all Roman Catholic. If you want, you had to. If you wanted to be married, you had to pretend you were Roman Catholic. Even if you never went to church in your life, it had to be married in a Roman Catholic tradition. Same that they did in Texas. This is always the same plan. They, with making a movie with Madonna about it to prop it up to keep her memory out there. She did it. Could she have made Perone? Well, yes, and she repented from all her youthful lust and, you know, was becoming rich, famous, and dangerous. So they ended up, I don't know if they gave her the cancer, but they gave her the lobotomy and she didn't say anything the last few months. They said she, overworked, never got checked up, only working for the poor. All that time, she compares Eva Marita, Eva Maria Peron to Ignatius Loyola, saying she became akin to a one woman Jesuit order. Wow, he's did pretty good for himself there, right? Bring on the women's suffrage and the Jesuit popes. These guys did it, and then she went away. But 3 million people went to her funeral. They said almost before she died, she had become so weak she couldn't stand without Juan Perón's aid. Other times they say she had to have plaster things on to keep her up. I'm sure that's not the whole 3 million, but you get the idea. There's somebody saying, "Oh, look, there she is. There, not a boy. She's her own Jesuit order, the spiritual leader of the nation." It's what her husband called her, and life went on. But they'll keep remembering her
the younger sister of President John F. Kennedy. And the surgery was not a success. Rosemary's specific diagnosis isn't entirely clear because the family did everything they could to hide her condition, but by all accounts, she was mentally challenged. And as she entered her early 20s, she became more irritable, difficult to control, sometimes physically violent. There were also rumors that she was sexually promiscuous and just in general behaving in ways that were embarrassing for one of the most powerful political families in the world. The procedure
And there was a plan to get people to accept what was coming. Lobotomy was a big part of it. Of course, that was in the late 40s. He had it in 41 when it wasn't even really the lobotomy treatment, psychiatric. Shared the Nobel Prize again in 1949, that discovery of the therapeutic value of keeping some people quiet. Okay, here's that Walter Freeman. He did the 4,000 of them and taught other people how to do it. 1936. So it's 1941. They were well into it. It had increased dramatically from the early 1941s when the other rich people found out what Joe Kennedy did to his daughter Rosemary. I wonder what else she had to keep quiet. Huh. And it's, again, they were doing it to the women, saying, oh no, I won't talk, I won't talk. Yeah, we'll make sure of that. You know, stuporous, incoherent, you're in the asylum now, but not your parents, not mine. They made it. They were going to get paid. They agreed if there's a cover up, somehow we'll go along, get along. I don't want to know too much. Then I'll be held responsible. I remember seeing a cartoon one time of a man sitting on a bench, clutching his briefcase, looking straight ahead and scared. You could tell he was scared by the way he drew it. And a cop was walking up. And behind the guy clutching the briefcase was a sign that said, do not even look at this sign under penalty of death. And there was a guy just sitting there going like, acting like, I didn't see nothing. I don't know nothing. Like, well, if somebody's going to say, did you see a sign? You go, what sign? We cannot live in that type of fear. No matter what happens today, the Lord could be testing you. He tests those he loves. Things are going to be hard. We learn, understand our responsibility as the people who understand the golden rule. Understand, why do we love our enemies? Well, he first loved us. He requires us to love our enemies, not kill them. You do the self-defense thing, but draw a line in the sand when you could run away, it's time to think another way. Here, now, on the flat earth nation with the golden age past because the mud flood was the Armageddon. Me and my friends will never tell you anything else. We know they added 1,000 years. They orphan trained brained you. And now we've got it figured out. And it is confusing because you have to be called, chosen, predestined, elect, known from before the foundation of the earth, to come to your own decision to confess with your mouth what you believe in your heart, that Jesus Christ is Lord, and then never put away that first love, because a love will have driven you to that, knowing that your sins are forgiven. And from your baby, you're born again, you're a baby. Pretty soon, things you used to love, you start to hate. The things you used to hate, you start to love. You start to love the Bible. You read and grow. You do not get born again. Think of it as the analogy. You do not get born again by the Spirit, the way by going related to being born of water. Okay, I was at this church and I chose those two parents because I could tell they really loved each other. They looked like they had some money, they looked smart. And I said, God, yeah, I'll take those parents. You don't choose when to be born. You don't choose when to be born again. It's a mystery. God has changed some people's heart. Yet many are called, few are chosen. How do you know you make it? You die in faith, working for the Lord. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho. Aloha. Arrivederci. Ciao. Sayonara. Auf Wiedersehen. Nakaman. Adios. That's how I say goodbye. And also, thank you for sticking with that first 5 minutes. That had to be torture.